You said something, and before the sentence was even finished, you were already watching their face. They had a neutral expression for half a second. Just neutral. Not bad, not good, just nothing. And something inside you immediately concluded they didn't like it. You spent the next 3 hours thinking about it. If that sounds familiar, this video is for you. You don't just live in your own head, you live in everyone else's too. Right now, you're running simulations. What did they think when you said that? Did that come across wrong? Were you too much? Not enough? You spend more time inside imagined versions of other people's thoughts than you spend inside your own. And the terrifying part, you're usually convinced you know what they're thinking. Someone doesn't text back immediately, you already know why. Someone looks away while you're talking, you already know what it means. You've become an expert at reading rooms. The problem is, you're reading them about yourself. Constantly. Exhaustingly. Here's what's happening in your brain. You have mirror neurons, cells that fire when you observe other people, letting you simulate their experience. This is why you wince when someone gets hurt, why you can sense a mood shift before anyone speaks. Mirror neurons are why humans have empathy, one of the most remarkable things about us. But for some people, this system runs at full volume all the time. Every glance, every pause, every slightly different tone. Your brain catches all of it and immediately asks one question. What does this mean about how they see me? But here's where it gets complicated. Who are you when nobody's watching? Not who you want to be, not who you're trying to be. Who are you right now, with no audience? For a lot of people, the answer is genuinely unclear. Because somewhere along the way, you stopped having a self that existed independently of other people's perception of you. You have a version of yourself with your parents, a version with your boss, a version with your friends, a version on social media. Each one slightly adjusted, slightly calibrated to what that person seems to want. And all that adjusting takes an enormous amount of energy, so much that when you finally get a moment alone, you feel strangely empty. Not relaxed, not free. Empty. Because the part of you that was managing impressions suddenly has nothing to do. And what's left underneath is quieter than you expected, maybe even unfamiliar. But here's the thing. This doesn't make you fake. The ability to read a room, to adapt to different people, that's not a weakness. That's an extraordinary form of social intelligence. The people around you feel deeply seen by you, because you actually notice. The problem isn't that you change around people. The problem is that, in all that changing, the original got lost somewhere. You became a master translator, fluent in everyone else's language, but forgot what your own sounded like. And here's where it gets really hard. You've started to evaluate your own experience through other people's reactions to it. You make a decision, a piece of work, a choice, and you don't know how to feel about it until you see how someone else responds. If they like it, it was good. If they're indifferent, you're not sure anymore. If they seem unimpressed, it probably wasn't worth it. You've outsourced your own opinion of yourself. You stay quiet in a meeting, not because you have nothing to say, because you're not sure how it will land. You change your opinion mid-conversation the moment you sense someone disagrees, not because they convinced you, because the discomfort of being seen as wrong felt like too much. You agree with things you don't agree with. You laugh at things you don't find funny. You pretend to like things you don't care about. And over time, you've become so good at this that you genuinely can't tell anymore where the performance ends and where you begin. You just know that something feels off after a quiet response. That one person's raised eyebrow can undo an entire afternoon of feeling okay. So you start managing. You say things you don't fully mean because they land better. You don't share opinions you actually have because the risk feels too high. You make yourself smaller, safer, more agreeable, not because you want to, but because being fully yourself and having someone not like it feels genuinely dangerous. Not uncomfortable, dangerous. Here's something important. When someone approves of you, when they smile, laugh, respond warmly, your brain releases dopamine. It feels like relief, like safety, like, okay, I'm okay. That feeling is real, but it's also short. Because approval is a fast-acting painkiller. It works immediately, makes the anxiety go away, for now. But it doesn't last. And when it wears off, the need comes back, a little stronger than before. So you find yourself chasing it, monitoring, managing, performing, not because you're shallow, but because your nervous system learned that other people's approval is how you regulate. The problem, it's a route that never ends. But here's what nobody tells you. The people whose opinion you're so carefully managing, they're not thinking about you nearly as much as you think. Right now, while you're replaying that interaction, analyzing that expression, they have moved on. They're in their own head, running their own simulations, worried about what someone else thought of them. Everyone is the main character of their own anxiety. The audience you've been exhausting yourself to impress is mostly distracted, mostly busy. You've been performing a show for an audience that left hours ago. So what do? You start treating your own opinion of yourself as one that counts. Not the only one, just one that's allowed to exist. The next time you do something, before you look to someone else for the verdict, pause and ask yourself, what do I think? Not what will they think, not how will this land. What do I actually think? Because the version of you that exists only in other people's perception, that version can be taken away. But the version of you that you actually know, that you've spent time with, that you've listened to, that one is yours. And nobody's neutral expression can touch it. We see you. Not the version you perform, not the version you carefully manage, the one underneath all of that. That one. That's the one that was always enough.